Well, hello. Welcome to Spindle City Straight Talk. I'm Chip.
And I'm CJ.
And it is Monday in the Riv, and a hectic Monday. We've had a lot of stuff going on.
Yeah.
Shooting in Fall River, bombings in the Middle East. Israel took out some of Hezbollah. They've been shelling Israel for a while, and they finally said, okay, we've had enough of your crap. And they went in there and they took out half of their leadership. But we had a shooting on Rodman Street and a threat of a shooting at a school, you said?
Yep, at the Talbot Middle. The superintendent, Dr. Tracy Curley, sent out an email yesterday because they found it yesterday, reportings from students who found the threats on social media. It was reported to the police department immediately, who did their research and their investigation, and they felt that there was no credible threat. Again, they felt there was no credible threat, but they have increased police presence at the Talbot Middle School today. And parents on social media are saying, I don't think I'm going to send my kids to school. Even though they may not be in the Talbot Middle School. They don't feel safe in the schools now. But people want to come to Fall River to live.
I'm glad you put that little caveat in at the end, because like I said, how many times do we have to tell these buttes that they not to buy into this crap? Because he said, all the people are going to come down here to move in, and the first two things people look at are education and crime, and we got them both in the schools, education and crime. So it's like, and we were ranked, the last ranking I looked at, we were 336th in the state in education out of 351 cities and towns. Listen, affluent people are not going to come to Fall River. If they can live in Fall River, they can get market rate housing in Somerset or Westport or somewhere else, because they can afford the market rate. It's like when you go to the restaurant and you look at the menu now and they go, seafood, they go, market
price.
That means don't buy it because it's going to be too expensive for your pocketbook. The only people who can buy that stuff are the people who don't care how much anything costs, like all the movie actors that are talking about Kamala. She shows what an elitist she is. She has Ben Stiller and Meryl Streep and Oprah and all, and she's still a bonehead. She couldn't answer him, but they cover for her. But look, it's a mess. I mean, and the other problem I have with what you just said, CJ, is that, I don't like that kind of, I'm very sensitive to words. I'm the word, the verbiage bothers me. When you say there's no credible threat, then you increase police presence. That's kind of saying you just said that for political reasons.
Right.
Because there's no credible threat, but I'm activating the 101st Airborne Division and the 82nd and sending them over to the Middle East. But don't worry about it. There's no credible threat. Right. I mean, you have to be an idiot. And those parents are justifiably concerned. They're justifiably concerned. I would be concerned.
I would. And the parents are even saying that their kid doesn't go to that school and they don't feel comfortable sending their child to school. So that tells you something.
Yeah.
That tells you something. And remember, these mass shootings all happened with kids who had problems, and the school system knew about it. And the mass shootings happened. But, we didn't know he was going to do that. Wow. Think that way.
Yeah, we didn't know, but they knew. It's just like this guy that the second attempt on Trump's life now. I just saw some new news on the national news that they found letters from him talking about assassinating Trump and saying how he was going to assassinate Trump. He had Trump's itinerary for months. They found a whole bunch of new evidence here, and where he said he was going to assassinate Trump and things. And it was on it's on the FBI's radar. It's on these places' radar. There's no follow-up. It's like, well, the guy's not running around in the middle of the street with an AK waving it right now. So we'll just consider this not really a credible threat. You can't do things like that. This is the problem. You've got an issue here that you've got somebody on the radar. You've got to really follow up on these people, and they don't. The FBI is abysmal. Now, if you're a conservative and you walk around the Capitol with horns, they said you're the second coming of Adolf Hitler and Stalin and everybody else, and it was as bad as 9/11 and Pearl Harbor and everything else, when it was virtually nothing that went on there. There were a few people that did a couple of things, like they might have broken a window or something like that to get in and things like this. But I mean, these people that are masters of manipulating narratives. They made January 6th into Pearl Harbor while they let Minnesota burn down, and Oregon, and a whole bunch of other places with BLM, and said, oh, they're mostly peaceful. You look behind a guy, and an entire block is burning down, and they go, oh, don't worry about it. It's mostly peaceful. But then some idiot with horns walks around the Capitol building. Oh, gee, I mean, AOC was saying she almost had a nervous breakdown. She thought she was going to die, and she wasn't even in the building. She was in another part of the Capitol. That was revealed after she made that political. I thought I was going to die. So some people were not. I thought people were going to come into my office and kill me. Well, you weren't even in a damn Capitol building. I mean, this is the problem. They talk a lot and they get nothing done. It's like the Middle East. Why do we have the problems in the Middle East? Biden has been kowtowing to Iran since he got into office. They've made millions and millions of dollars. They were nearly broke when Trump was in office. They couldn't do anything. The Middle East, there was peace. Now they got money. They're financing Hezbollah. They're financing the Houthis. They're financing everybody over there. You want to be a terrorist? Go to Iran. They'll give you some money to be a terrorist. And, now the place is blowing up, and we're on the verge of World War III. But you notice it's not being covered a hell of a lot. They want everybody to forget that these people did nothing for nearly 4 years. Nothing, except let the country deteriorate. And I mean, and we look around the city, the same thing's happening here. Now they want to put market rate housing in the South End, so to drive the rents up in that area, which is the most heavily populated area. So what do we have to do? What can we do? We have to take back the government. I mean, we can't take it back now for another year because the elections aren't in the city until next year. But we got to begin by practicing and going to vote. You 40,000 people that are too apathetic or disinterested, but then want to complain, you got to get out and vote.
And they got no excuse.
No.
They've got no excuse. I'll tell you now. They've got no excuse because they can get their ballot by the mail and they can vote via mail. I know people think it's not secure, and I'll never say it's secure, but you'll at least be a participant in the process.
You're right. Yeah. No, I'm just reading the comment. No, you're right, Stevie. Those three-letter government agencies are all loaded with bureaucrats, and they're part of the Washington. People think that the politicians run Washington. No, they just get rich and make a lot of noise and pretend, but they just defer running this country to all these lifetime bureaucrats that have positions in all these agencies. Just look at this guy from the Secret Service, this new guy. You know, the other one had to crow, but this guy does nothing, gives you no information, tries to manipulates fact. Oh, they didn't get a shot off. Oh, really? So that's a good, so you guys really did your job. The guy shouldn't have been there in the first place. Nobody checked the outer perimeter. News reporters take pictures all the time there. They know that's a danger zone, and nobody did anything. And now you find out the one who was in charge of the first assassination attempt flunked basically all her tests, and she was an incompetent. Another quota hire, DEI hire, and the problem. Then they go on there and they never, like you said, they never give anything. They should be able to be thrown in jail. Yeah, you're right. Well, we're still really technically in the Obama administration, because anybody that thinks Joe Biden runs the country or Kamala will run the country is insane. Because just look at it. That's the first time in recorded history the first lady went to a cabinet meeting and the president of the United States turned the meeting over to her. I mean, that was just mind-blowing. Go ahead, kid, take it over. Don't worry, I'm only the president. And this is the cabinet. You take over the meeting. Well, look, Kamala's just as bad. She's not going to be the president. Word salad Harris cannot be anything, because she can't. How can she talk to any leader? Because everything's a word salad. Yeah, that's right. And if she gets in, he'll be serving his fourth term. It's crazy. I mean, people are just, I don't know how anybody could think that he was running the country from the get-go. But it just goes to show how oblivious they are. They won't worry about it until it bites them in the butt. But the time is coming very, very quickly. And, like I said, $2 million a minute just to pay the interest on our national debt. And these people want to increase it and stuff. Well, I don't know. We got all kinds of problems in the schools, but nobody, we hear about it, but then it disappears. It's like, keep your mouth shut. No details. Like Malone, like the head of security, like everything, like DCM. Any problem in Fall River is just hidden. Nobody knows anything. All we talk about is how we're going to change the zoning ordinances and bring market rate housing to the, and listen to our politicians lie again. With the buzzwords, we've done enough. Yeah, rotten. Yeah, well, I mean, the best one was when the people who were underwater in their mortgage asked what she could do for them, and then she started talking about giving them $25,000 to buy a house. It's like, really, you dumbbell? Do you realize that if they go to a bank to try to get a mortgage now, and they find out that they can't pay the mortgage they got now, so they're going to buy a more expensive house, they're not going to get a mortgage, dopey. It's just talking points, like with Linda. Oh, we've done enough. That's Paul's thing. We've done enough. Because, again, they're counting public housing. And to this day, even though you can't tell me, as dumb as he is, you're not going to tell me that Paul doesn't know the difference between public housing, market rate housing, and affordable housing. And he should know workforce housing. Although workforce is a little bit more technical. Workforce, you have to deal with an area, because that's how workforce housing is predicated. It's supposed to be affordable, but it's affordable for an area. And in that area, Fall River people are at the lowest rung of the ladder, because now if you look at our area, everybody in our area has a higher income. So when they set the income requirements for workforce housing, there is a minimum too. There is a maximum income that you can get those houses, and there's also a minimum income. But, you know, they're not that stupid. They're just pretending to be stupid. They're dumb as foxes. Oh, well, we'll mix them all together and nobody will know. Well, some of us do. With that, CJ, back to you.
Excuse me. Well, I mean, we've got a lot of issues that are coming up in the city, as you know, and I'm glad you addressed some of the national issues right off the bat. But there was a shooting, as I said yesterday. 3 shots were fired. The victims and the alleged perpetrator were in a contentious argument prior to going to the club on Rodman Street. And I guess it escalated, and the man took out his gun and fired 3 shots at them. Nobody was injured. The casings were found. The man left the scene. A witness gave the police the type of vehicle and the license plate number. When the police attempted to pull him over, he took out 3 cars on the road. Decided he hit him. But they're charging him with plenty. I'll tell you right now. They're charging him with plenty. And it makes for an interesting time. Another issue that we had that was found over the weekend was that at 12:15 in the morning, again on Sunday, units responded to the 7-Eleven located on New Boston Road. And guess what they found there? A skimming device was on the terminal. And of course, if you don't know what a skimming device is, it collects the data from your debit card, credit card, whatever the case may be. The cashier at the business indicated that the customer discovered the presence of the device when he noticed the device was not lighting up consistent with his past experience in making purchases. Nobody knows how long the device was there. But again, this is again more crime in Fall River. Not that this happens to Fall River alone, but it happens enough. It happens enough. So it makes for an interesting time, especially when we're dealing with crime. And we need to know about that. We need to know. Okay? How many people saw the news about the bulls in Attleboro?
The bulls?
8 bulls escaped from a rodeo in North Attleboro and were penned in a guy's backyard. One of them was still on the loose after they got 7 of them. I thought that was interesting. I had to mention it. I know it's not Fall River, but it was funny. It was funny because Carlos brought a rodeo to Fall River at one time. We've had nothing like it since. And, you know, that's the truth. We've had nothing like it since. So, and Patrick's telling us that it was at the rodeo was at the Emerald Square Mall. I was going to say that. Thank you, Patrick. So we've got, you know, we're dealing with that because
we're all politicians there.
They're trying to bring things to Fall River for tourism. So what did they have this weekend? You know what they had this weekend? They had a concert at the gates of the city. I believe the ticket cost was $25 a person. Why are you going to pay for it? You can just sit out on the street and watch it and listen to the music. They heard the music all over Columbia Street. But something that nobody considered, they didn't clean up. The producers of the concert did not clean up. The people involved with the concert did not clean up. There was trash all over the place. And who's cleaning it up? DCM. And who's paying for it? You, the taxpayer. You're paying for it. I'm paying for it. This is what happens.
You know, that's like sticking pins in my eyes when you talk about stuff like that, CJ, because, you know, we had boat races. We had Fall River Celebrates America. We've had all kinds of things in Fall River. These things do not help the tourist. Fall River is, but how many times? This is all another political con to give somebody jobs and to pretend that they're doing something. And people are not that stupid. We had the boat races on the Taunton River. They were coming from all over to the boat races. We had Fall River Celebrates America for a whole bunch of years. What did it really do for tourism and the economy? Nothing. You know, you got to be an absolute imbecile. An absolute imbecile. If you think somebody from out of town, especially from out of state, somebody's driving in here through Ohio, where are they going? They take out they do their Google search now. I used to say the old AAA books to see what was in the area. But they know where they're going. Newport, the mansions, the jet speed, the 12-mile drive, the Tennis Hall of Fame, Brick Alley, Thames Street. Oh, Cape Cod, the Kennedy compound. All the other stuff down the Cape, Old Cape Cod. They made movies about it. The two largest tourist attractions in southern New England. And they're going to stop in Fall River? This is going to become a viable industry in Fall River? We need a tourism director and everything. That's BS, okay? You know the bulls that they had up in the Emerald Square Mall? Well, when they had to go to the bathroom, that's what we're listening to. Because these people are nuts. Let the Fall River restaurants put cards in local motels in the area or Newport. Let them promote their own businesses. We're going to pay hundreds of thousands of dollars in salaries and all kinds of other stuff for something. That's the very definition of insanity. What is the definition of insanity? Repeating the same action and expecting a different result. They've been pushing tourism for the last 50 years. What do we got here that can compete with Newport, the Cape, even Providence? I mean, Providence. I mean, this is just, it's ridiculous. That's what it is. It's absolutely ridiculous. Yeah. So there you go.
Even she knew not to come to Fall River.
She said, she couldn't find her bulletproof vest. I shouldn't be facetious like that, but you know, this is the thing. You want to waste money, you know, be reasonable about what you're trying to do. You want to try to train people to get jobs. You want to do something to help the people. Yeah. Yeah, the definition of insanity. There you go. Good one, Patrick. I like that one. That was a good one. Yeah. Well, any similarity to fact coming out of her is purely coincidental.
Exactly. Exactly.
That's the way it is. But I mean, look, you know, instead of wasting your money on tourism, put it in a place where it's going to help. Try to stimulate small businesses. Try to get people jobs so they can actually support small businesses and buy things. I mean,
you mean like Providence did?
Yeah, exactly. You know, I mean, you look at you know the Renaissance in Providence, run by our favorite mayor buddy, Cianci. Focused. People don't realize how that Renaissance really took off. Buddy Cianci took off because he really, really encouraged the creation of businesses. And also, he involved the unions and made sure that Providence workers worked on everything that they were building. Not out-of-town developers, and nothing about small business, fundamentally. What do we got in Fall River? Tourism that will never work, ever. You know, we've had Lizzie Borden. They made 3 movies about Lizzie Borden. You got a few people trickle into the Fall River to go see Lizzie Borden. But is it ever going to be a viable business? And even if you could make it a viable business, it's not going to help the economy. They all got shit for brains. Because all you got to do is look at Miami. Miami has long been one of the premier tourist destinations in the country. South Beach, Miami. I know you've been to the Fontainebleau. The Fontainebleau, Collins Avenue, all the fancy hotels on Collins Avenue. I did go to a convention in Miami, and that was at the Fontainebleau. Very, very beautiful hotel, very beautiful area. I have relatives that still live in Florida. They moved down there a long time ago. They lived outside of Miami. They worked in Miami. It had a great tourist industry. Did it help the city? No. The city was full of crime, full of poverty. And then they got a mayor in who focused on the people. Tourism does not, when you piss away the money, it doesn't help the community. Even if you do have tourism. Tourism is not the answer. It's what you do with money. Look at Atlantic City. Atlantic City had all those casinos making tens of millions of dollars, and you walked off the boardwalk and it was a ghetto. And then finally the state of New Jersey said, well, why did this happen? Well, they reinvested any of that money to the people, into the city. They blew it. Or they stole it. It's about the focus. Focus has got to be on the people. And Paul Coogan's focus is not on the people. It's the phantom people that he thinks are going to come down here to live, which won't happen. And this is all about giving his friends jobs and making his friends rich. This is what it's all about. He's got nothing else to do with anything except that.
I firmly believe that Paul's legacy is going to be the fact that he created more homelessness in Fall River than he solved. Because after the creation of all this market rate housing, okay, I firmly believe that a lot of these developers are going to find out that they can't rent these apartments for that amount of money. And they're going to have to lower the rent or start accepting Section 8.
You mean like they did it at
Point Gloria? Remember that?
Well, listen, all you got to do is look at one thing. You know, they all look at these delusionary glasses they wear, the rose-colored glasses, and they try to make this into Newton. Newton's a bedroom community of rich people that work in Boston and make very, very good money. You can't make a Newton. You know what you're going to make this city? Detroit.
Yeah.
Look at Detroit. Detroit had all kinds of initiatives. They were trying to sell homes in Detroit for $1. $1. You could buy a home in Detroit, and they couldn't sell them.
Right.
And as you said, CJ, you're not going to get the people to inhabit market rate housing. You've got to take care of the people who live here, and Paul doesn't. He doesn't care about the people who live here. He doesn't care if they're homeless. You're right. He is forcing people out. And that phantom train that's going to come down with all these people just waiting to come to a city where you got threats in the schools and an underperforming educational system. And it's not going to happen. I mean, you got to have at least one iota of common sense and look at what you got. You know the old saying, play to your audience? Well, look at your audience. This city is a poorer city. This city cannot become a Newton. It can become viable. It can become a blue-collar city like it once was when they had milk. The key is you've got to bring in something that you can put people to work, thereby give them money, thereby bringing in businesses that can stay in business because people will frequent those businesses like we had years ago. I was always an advocate of screw the damn waterfront. The best idea on a waterfront was to make it a deep water port. We got one of the deepest parts of the Taunton River. That idea was floated for about a New York minute. They didn't want to hear that because they weren't going to make any money off that. But you know who was going to make money? City of Fall River. The people of Fall River. You know how much longshoremen make unloading ships? Go to Providence and find out. New Bedford developed their seaport, didn't they? But
and they've got a thriving seaport.
That's right.
Thriving seaport.
And Fall River had an opportunity. Fall River had an opportunity to talk about making this into a port where we were getting in like they do in Providence, because we had the opportunity and we had a good port because we have that deep water there. And what did they do with it? We don't want to hear it. My friends can't make any money.
Kept up the pier. As a matter of fact, they haven't even kept up the pier. According to the agreement that the city has with the state, they're supposed to take the profits of the pier and roll it over into the maintenance and upkeep of the pier. And Ken Fiola hasn't done that. And I'm sorry, Ken, but guess what? The buck ends with you because you're the last head of the pier. You're the last guy in office. And, you know, when you're the last guy in office, you all accept the credit. But you don't want to accept the blame. Sorry. One comes with the other. So think about that. All that money, where's it going? Who's getting it? Who's getting it? How much you getting paid? I want to know that too. How much you getting paid? Where's that money coming from? Does that give you entitlement to benefits? Are you paying into the pension system? Are you getting health insurance from the city of Fall River? I want to know. That's a good idea. I wonder if somebody can do some investigation into that. That's going to be an interesting thing to find out. Are you an employee of the city? Are you an employee of the state? I don't know. But I haven't heard anything about the pier ever since we heard about the fact that you weren't maintaining it. And you're the one that complained about it not being maintained. Have you done anything since? I haven't seen it. I haven't seen it at all.
Too busy.
I even haven't seen a tourist ship. Remember those cruise ships they used to pull in every so often? I haven't seen one of them. It was such a good place that the Block Island ferry stopped coming here. This is how viable it was.
Yeah, look, like I said, we're going to be Detroit. We're not going to be Newton. You can turn any place. It's a lot easier to turn something into Detroit than it is to turn it into Newton. So the reality is they have no focus on how you do that. You have to focus on the people. Remember when they had programs to teach people how to weld? They all got jobs at Electric Boat making good money. Rhode Island did that. I mean, as much as, but this is what you have. And why couldn't you buy a house? Why wouldn't anybody buy a house in Detroit? Because they didn't do anything to elevate the people, to control crime. I went to a convention in Detroit one time. And when we arrived at the hotel, we were told that we said, well, where can you go to eat? What's in the area? And hotel staff said, well, there's a place about 2 blocks away from here that is called Greektown. And there's a whole bunch of restaurants down there. And it's a really nice place. They got a lot of nice restaurants and stuff. And we said, okay. And they said, but you have to take a cab there. And we went, what do you mean you have to take it? It's 2 blocks. It's like, so you can't walk there. You'll get mugged, you'll get robbed, you could get shot. And that was basically all that area of Detroit, which is where all the hotels were. And we said, well, how the hell is that place safe? They said, oh yeah, because they hire virtually the entire Detroit Police Department off duty to patrol the area. You got plenty of police presence there because the businessmen want business. They said, but you can't walk there. You got to take a cab. And it was true. Actually, the first night, the convention starts on a Monday. We got there on a Sunday. Some people got there on a Saturday. Most people get there on Sunday. But on the Sunday that we got there, somebody who lived close enough to drive the convention got mugged in a parking lot at a hotel. So you wonder why? You think people are really going to come here when we got stuff like this and a poor education? I mean, these people are delusionary, but they're not delusionary. They know their friends are making money, their friends are getting jobs, and they don't care about the rest of the riffraff. I don't know, Jeff. I don't know, but the old Joe Shish Kebab has, I guess they put a sign up. I don't know if they're open yet, but it's called 9 Star. But I have no idea what that restaurant is. But, you know, it's tragic, you know, because they don't care about regular people. It's just like, just look at the national level. You know, this is a microcosm of what happens in Fall River. You know, we got elitists running this city, rich elitists, just like on a national level. So who's Oprah got on her TV show? She doesn't have Joe the plumber, Larry the painter, Meryl Streep, Jane Fonda's knocking on doors, Hanoi Jane. All these rich, multi-millionaire movie actors telling you how great it's going to be. Well, it's great for them because they live in Hollywood. And they probably got a home in Switzerland and a home in the Caribbean. They can go any damn way they please. And I'm sure there's not a lot of crime in Hollywood. Although, speaking about crime, did you see this, CJ? They made an arrest for rape and stuff by an illegal in Nantucket. Didn't happen in Martha's Vineyard. They got rid of him pretty quick.
Yeah.
But they made 2 arrests of Salvadorians, I believe. Mm-hmm. The 2 of them were Salvadorians. So they made 2 arrests in Nantucket for rape. One rape of a child and the other rape, I guess, was an adult, for illegals in Nantucket. So you know what's going to happen in Nantucket. The few illegals that they have are going to be gone. It's not going to be like it is when they drop 15,000 of them in a city of like 30,000. Oh.
I know.
But this is what they do. And, you know, these people just walk around with their head in a cloud, and they don't realize that these people, frankly, do not care about the people who live here now. Paul Coogan was elected to be the mayor of Fall River and work for the people of Fall River, not the people he wishes lived in Fall River or he wants to live in Fall River and who may or may not come to Fall River. He was here to make this a better city for the people who live here. That's right. That's as basic as it gets.
And here's the thing, you know, because if you read the Weekend Flush, I wrote about the Emergency Assistance Program. And the state has found that it's an absolute failure. The system is a failure. The Republicans are saying they want a change in it. They want a severe change in that whole system. They want the law changed so that you must be a Massachusetts resident to get the assistance from the program, meaning housing. Well, guess what? The Democrats don't want that. God forbid the Democrats want that. It doesn't work that way. But, you know, such is life. And that's what Paul wants. Paul wants the same thing that they want up at the State House. But he wants it here in Fall River. Gimme, but don't expect me to give you anything back. And that's what Paul's got as mayor. Gimme, and I'm not giving you anything back. But my friends, on the other hand, they're getting everything. I don't care if you can't afford your water bill. I don't care if you can't afford your property taxes. I don't care if you can't afford your medication because of it. Guess what? You're going to pay because I said so. And I'm not going to pay because I'm not going to live here. And that's what happens.
No, you're right, CJ. But the problem is that, and herein lies the problem. It's not going to happen in Martha's Vineyard. It's not going to happen in Newton. It's not going to happen in the rich communities in this state. They will ensure that they keep all these problems at arm's length because they have the money to do so. They will sue. They will make sure they got plenty of police presence. They will evict these illegals. Where do they send them? Some little town in Ohio, some little town in Massachusetts, they'll send them to the Fall Rivers, to the Brocktons, to the Lawrences, to the Lowells. That's where they send them. You know, there won't be a hell of a lot of illegals in Newton. I can guarantee you. And if they start causing problems, they're going to be out of there like there's going to be a vapor trailer coming out of their butt. Like they did in my. Oh, we love immigrants. Yes, we love them till they get here. Then it's like, holy shit, get the National Guard, get the buses, get them the hell out of here. Yes, get them the hell out of here. Wait a minute, we don't love them anymore. We loved them till they got here, and when they got here, we called a national crisis, just like Lori Lightfoot defund the police till they were on her doorstep, and she's yelling, "Get the police, get the National Guard, get everybody over here." These people do not live in our world. They don't. And this is the problem. Like you said, Paul doesn't care. He's not going to live in Fall River. He wants another term so he can make basically $1 million in salary. Well, he's got a pretty damn good pension that he can live on already.
That's it.
And the thing is, he's going to be a millionaire. He already is a millionaire. They probably, his rich friends probably invested a lot of that money. And he's going to do the same thing he did the last time he left a job in Fall River, which was when he was a teacher or a vice principal. He got out of town. He got out of town, and they all do. They all do. They bail out. He's going to bail out, and we're going to be left with the high taxes, the high water bills, people living in the streets. And you said he is now the we can probably call him the homeless mayor. Because he's doing to Fall River what they did to San Francisco on a smaller scale, because obviously there's a hell of a lot more people in San Francisco. But you remember, CJ, you were out, you've been there, I've been there. You've been there probably more than I have.
Yeah.
That place was one of the richest cities, one of the most beautiful cities on the planet. I remember when homes cost millions of dollars in San Francisco decades ago.
Yeah.
To live in San Francisco, I remember years ago when I was doing a negotiation and I was looking up salaries all over the country. I remember that the DCM,
the garbage men. I remember that.
Garbage men in San Francisco were making more than any city employee in the city of Fall River, including the mayor, the department heads, and everything. That city was an affluent, beautiful city. And when you let these animals just push people out, bring all these, and look, this state, we've spent $1 billion on illegals. And they're
Yes,
still
we have.
sleeping more while our veterans and our people are sleeping in the streets. That's why the people who they're leaving behind have to get off their ass and get to the polls.
Yep. We definitely need to make sure we get out there and vote, because if we don't, we're going to get what we deserve. And we're seeing it already with the presidential election. We're seeing it. I mean, we got a chance to get rid of Elizabeth Warren. Will we? I doubt it. I doubt it, because Massachusetts is so party driven that they just see the letter R after their name and they block. It's like a black line appears over their name. Like all of a sudden they don't exist. And that's a shame. That's a shame, because Elizabeth Warren hasn't done anything for Massachusetts.
I am glad you said that. She's been there forever. And what have they done except stand in front of the TV and talk about how to spend our money for other people other than us?
Right. You know, you can't win for losing with a lot of this stuff. You really can't win for losing. And when you think about it, it just doesn't seem to work out. And it doesn't work out because you don't vote. So until you stop voting, I don't want to hear you complain. That's the truth. Today, 5 o'clock, Government Center in the atrium. It's a community open house. Ooh, it sounds important. It's going to be pictures, drawings, etchings of the planned Davol Corridor. It's not Davol Street, it's now Davol Corridor, until we decide what to rename it, I guess. And that's from 5 to 7 in the atrium. If you want to go see it, they want you there. Believe it or not, this is what they said. They want you there. They want to hear what you think about what they plan to do with the corridor, and what you want done with it.
Yeah. Can we? Do they have a checkbox for nuking it? Listen, again, all these promises and plans. Remember, the thing was already supposed to be here. These people are so full of crap. It's incredible. No, they're going to show you this snapshot, etchings, paintings, everything of what they're going to do. And we're going to be the only freaking place in the state of Massachusetts the MBTA is actually working. That's the con they're selling you. Everybody else knows that this thing is a total unmitigated disaster. MBTA is a disaster. There are hundreds of billions of dollars in the hole. Nothing runs right. It's a government boondoggle. But in Fall River, they're giving you the Kool-Aid. Listen to Nelson. Listen to Colin Dyers. They gave that presentation. Go look at that presentation again. This is absolute bullshit they're feeding you. Okay?
Absolutely.
This is a photo op for them to say, look what we're doing. We're going to make this city into Newton. Well, you know, if you're dumb enough to believe that, go down there, please. I hope they serve Kool-Aid.
Raspberry, I hope. This way I can go. Well, I want to thank you all for watching. And remember, stay safe, stay angry, and hold your politicians accountable. We'll see you on Wednesday. Have a great day.